Alright, so I know it's been forever since I've ever posted on this YouTube account. That's because I stopped skateboarding, but recently got back into it. But new hobby, kinda learned how to do, is ring making. And today I'm going to show you how to make this ring right here, since it's kind of like everybody's favorite. I don't know, I'm not gonna, okay, so this is the glass I used in this one right here, all this crushed up blue stuff in there. See that? That's all blue glass, and it was a rock, kind of like this stuff, like a rock shaped like piece of glass, and I busted it up and used it in this, but it didn't turn out as blue as I wanted it to, because you know it's glass and there's like some blue chunks, but most of it's just glass and you can't really tell because it's all together, so it just all looks blue, but it's actually just glass. Anyways, I have some opal here, which we're not going to be using today. I want to use it for a special ring. But I have these rocks here, and I don't know which one's gonna look cooler. So this one I'm thinking is gonna look the coolest when it's all crushed up and polished. It's gonna look like, you know, like a teal color, whatever the heck. And this one is called Tiger's Eye, so it's kind of like reflective and has layers. And I was also thinking that would be cool. You can kind of see its reflectiveness there. This one, really don't know what the frick it is. I just really thought it would kind of look cool, but I don't really think so. And it's just a quartz rock, which would just be like a white, glistening ring. So, probably won't be using the blue stuff. Might be using this one today. I'm thinking that's what we're going to do for today's ring. Alright, so I don't have a tripod for my phone, so I'm going to have to cut in between steps and just tell you what I'm doing. But I got my sheet metal here, just copper sheet metal. Because I can't afford silver or anything like that, because that crap's freaking expensive, bro. You get like a spool of wire, silver wire, for like 76 bucks. Like, dude, I ain't selling these. I'm freaking just making them for me, you know? Anyways, yeah, so this is our plan today. And right now what we're going to be doing is making the actual inside part. As you can see, there's a ring inside, that little loop in there. We're going to make that right now. That's the first step. So let me show you how we're going to do that. There. Alright, so you're going to want to figure out your measurements, and this is how you do it. You're going to need a caliper. Let me find my caliper. Where the heck did I put my caliper? There it is, hiding all the way over here. My workspace is a mess, guys. Don't look at it. Alright. So, holy frick, can you ever open these things with one hand? Alright. Here we go. Put this back. Right there. Alright, so you need a caliper, right? So what you're going to do is measure the thickness of your metal, and then you're going to have a ring sizer, or just find a ring that's your size, right? And then measure the inner diameter of it with these ones right here. See, you put it on there and measure the inner diameter. And you're going to add them together and then multiply them by 3.14, which is pi. And that's going to give you the length of the metal you need. I already know my length. I need it to be right to there. And of course it's going to be just a little bit too small, and that's because you need to stretch it on this, and you always want to stretch it because then you can get a perfect circle. So that's why you always want it to be a little bit smaller. So just type in those measurements and it'll be perfect, and you'll just have to stretch it out a little bit and it'll be fine. So I'm gonna cut it out. I'm first gonna scribe on a line using these, but I'm gonna make my ring the same thickness as this one. Let's just see how thick this one is. Just gonna right there. So this one is 0.2. It's 0.28. Let's say 0.285. Oh wait, no, I'm stupid. Sorry. 0.287. That's 0.287 pretty much right there. It's like right in between. I'll just count as 0.287. So I'm going to make it that thickness, right? And I'm just going to scribe it in using the tips of this, and I'll show you when it's done. Alright, so now you can see the line there. I'm just going to cut along that line and cut off right there, and I'll show you when it's done. Alrighty, so there it is, our piece. Very roughly cut. We're going to have to file the crap out of it. Alright, so get to work on your file Make sure you get them pieces flat, and make sure you're not doing it at like an angle, you know, because, you know, maybe you're on one bump and you start filing and eventually you find out you have it at like an angle. Just make sure you're constantly using your caliper to make sure that both ends are the same width. Actually, scratch that last part. I forgot to tell you. When you're filing it, do not file it the whole way. Just get it kind of so there's like, you can kind of see there's only some parts filed there on both sides. You don't want to get completely straight because you're just gonna, it'll make it easier. I forgot to tell you that you're not going to do it the whole way, but just do it about that much just to get enough like flat on the tall parts, you know what I mean? And now, if you're using a harder metal, you're going to want to heat it up till it's red and then quench it in water. But this is copper and it's really thin, you know, so I don't really need to do that because, yeah, it's a really soft metal. So you're just going to want to bend this around your mandrel, probably around the handle part, because this has, you can see it's tapered and it'll make your metal tapered. You don't want that for soldering. So you're going to do it around this part, and I'll show you. Alright, it's going to look like this, and then basically you're just going to bend these two pieces flat. I'll show you. Pretty much like this. Just kind of, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, just make sure that these two are like touching. Now as you can see, this joint is not very flat, so we're going to need to follow that flat. So I'll show you that when it's done. You just need to make sure that both sides are touching and it's like hard to see the light through. And I'm not even going to try to do that because look how uneven it is. So we're going to have to fix that. Alright, so I got both ends flat, and the way I did this was I just kind of clamped it in my pliers like up, sticking out of it like this, and then just filed it flat to the actual plier. Make sure you kind of have it at a 90-degree angle as like most as possible, and do that to both sides. And yeah, and you'll have a nice solder joint, and it'll be really nice and tight, and should be as close as you could get it without having to use special tools. And I'll show you once I get it bent into place. Alright, so now I got her together, and as you can see, you have to make sure that it's completely on the same level. You don't want one lower than the other. Gotta make sure it's not twisted, so you gotta check on both sides too. If my camera, there you go. And you want it as tight as possible. I think it's about as tight as I can get it. You can still kind of see light through it a little bit, but actually I think it unbent. Let me rebent it. There you go. Now I got as tight as I could. I just had to rebend it a little bit, and you can barely see light through it. Well, that don't help too much. Yeah, you can like barely see light through it, and that's good enough. So we're ready to solder. If you did anneal your piece, you're gonna want to clean off all the fire scale by putting in some hot pickling acid, and but I didn't, so I'm good to go. So you're gonna want to use flux. Here's all the stuff you're gonna need for soldering. You're gonna need flux. Gonna need a third hand and a fireproof place. Alright, so what you're gonna need for soldering, which I already have, okay, I can't freaking speak. Alright, hold on a second. Let me just, okay, alright, so I got the ring already soldered and rounded, but I'm gonna tell you what you need for soldering. Flux, right? Flux, you can find this all on Amazon. And you're gonna want hard chip solder, hard silver chip solder, okay? And you're gonna need some tweezers or some tweezers or something, you know what I mean? Some tweezers. Alright, and you're gonna need pickling solution to clean your metal before you solder it, because it won't solder correctly if you don't have it cleaned. And basically, look up some videos on how to solder, because I already did it and I can't show you anyways because I don't have a tripod. But this is what it should look like in the end, you know what I mean? You got the solder, and it went the whole way through. As you can see, it's gray on the other side. It was a pretty good solder joint. And basically, once you pickle it after soldering and you get all that flux off, and if there is still flux on, just chip it off with like a screwdriver or something. Then you put it on the mandrel, right? And just keep working it down until it gets perfectly circle. And then flip it over, do it the other way. And then keep stretching it and whacking at it till it gets to your ring size. And I have a ring stretcher here. You don't really need one, but it just makes your life a little bit easier. So to use one, you gotta take this part out, right? You put your ring on it like that, put this part down, and you whack with a hammer a couple times, and then you put your press on the back and whack it out, and then you flip your ring over, do it again, and it just stretches your ring size. All right, so I'm gonna do all that until I get to my ring size, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so I got to my ring size here and got the taper off and got all that. Ooh, my finger kind of peeling there. Don't look at my ugly, disgusting fingers. Anyways, got it like this, and now we have to get rid of that wavy edge. Just run it on the file on both sides, and until you see a bright shiny part on the whole way around, and that's how you'll know that you filed it all. Like, you can see how that part's smooth and that part isn't and that part is. You want it to be smooth like the whole way around. You want to see that you filed the whole way around on both sides, and that's how you'll know that you got it. Alright, so now I got both sides shined up, and to make sure that your ring is completely the same size all around, use your micrometer to measure it all the way around. Make sure parts aren't wider than others, and basically now start sanding off all these like flux markings. Start sanding off your solder. Just kind of go around the whole thing, and I'll actually show you how I do it. I made this little thing kind of like a mandrel, and you just slide it on until it gets tight, and you spin it while holding sandpaper on it, and it sands it pretty nice. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, as you can see, it's all shined up, and you can still see the color, but it's pretty well flat now. This took me about a minute tops. I just kind of used my sanding block here. I went from the hardest to softest to softer, and I used the foam on the end to polish it up really nice. And it took me about a minute just to go through all that when I was using the drill. Doing it by hand would probably take about 10 minutes. There's a pretty nasty scratch on there, ain't there? Well, it don't matter because we're not going to see it. We just want to get all that stuff off there and get it clean. I already munched up my rock here, and you're going to have a lot of fine stuff and a lot of big stuff. This stuff might even be too big. I'm going to have to use a lot of this stuff. And we'll get to that later. For now, we're done with this. And now we need to start making the wire that goes around the outside. Alright, so you got your wire here. I found this in a junk pile. It's like, I think 12 gauge wire, copper wire. Yeah, so basically, you're going to do the same mathematical equation, right? So you're going to take the thickness of your wire here. You're going to take the thickness of your wire, and then you're going to find the outside diameter this time, of the ring. Add those two together, multiply it by 3.14, and then that will get you the length of wire you need. And of course, you're going to have to stretch it a little bit to get the perfect circle. And we don't want to stretch it too much. This is where it gets really touchy and finicky. If you stretch it too much and it's really loose on it, this ain't going to work. You're going to have to restart. Cut it shorter and resolder it, everything like that. You're going to have to do it all over again. So make sure you do not overstretch this. And I'm going to show you that later. Okay. Alright, so here I got my length of wire I need. Did my calculations here. Got my length of wire. Get your wire as straight as possible. It doesn't have to be super straight. Doesn't really matter that much. And you're just going to want to cut that. Cut that right there. Also, make sure you cut two of them. Same exact size, you know. Just cut two of them because you're going to need one for both sides of the ring. Now you got your two wires. Just going to follow the ends flat. Round and around your mandrel. Do the same exact steps you did for this one. Soldering and everything. Round it around your mandrel. Solder it flat. Get the flattest joint you can so you can barely see the sun through it. Or any light through it. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, solder them up. Pickle them. Clean them up. And I'll show you what to do next. Freak. So I got them both prepped for soldering. There. As you can see, they are very tight joints. One little trick for doing this to wire, usually not the metal, you set it up on your little jig here, and if you can't really get it to be flat, like a solder joint, go right down when you have them together. Go right down the solder joint and just hold them together while you're cutting, and it will make it perfectly flat after a couple passes. And yeah, I'll show you what they look like after they're soldered. Oh yeah, also I got my rock already crushed up too. Oh wait, I already freaking told you, didn't I? Oh my gosh, I'm the stupidest person on the earth. Alright, so I know I'm filming on my phone. I know, okay? I'm not a professional YouTuber or anything, alright? Cool? Cool with it? Okay, cool. Well, here's my ring right here. It's on a third hand here. Got here. Alright, so I'm just going to show you how this is the last one. I already did the first one, and it's soaking into pickle right now. Just going to show you how you do it. I'm going to apply the flux pretty much all over it, you know what I mean? Kind of just get underneath of it, back of it, all over that thing, man. And that's pretty much it. Do that. You're gonna want to heat it up a little bit, just get that flux moving. Don't want your flame to be super cooking, you know, just kind of get that flux kind of white and hard there. Now what you're gonna do is grab some of your solder here with your pliers, reach in, back, and grab just one. Just gonna need one to do this. I use just one on the actual ring part too. You know, the solder, you don't really need too much of it. Some people like a lot, but it ends up just wasting it because it just burns away what it can't use. And I'm giving you too much information anyways. Just use one. Just use one. Put your piece of solder. Voice crack. Put your piece of solder right over the solder joint there, and you're gonna start going again with a very low heat flame. Just kind of heat up the whole metal. Don't point it directly at the solder. Just kind of keep going back and forth, heating up that flux, and just kind of keep going. Just keep going. And your solder might keep trying to fall off. Just got to keep poking it with your pick here. Just kind of keeping it on if it keeps trying to fall off. But yeah, just keep going at it, and eventually your flux is gonna turn into like a glassy type of substance looking like thing, and you're just gonna keep going back and forth. Just keep doing that, and it takes about a minute. And when your flux gets really smooth looking, all the way around pretty much, start bumping up the heat just a little bit. Make sure that's directly to the joint. Once it gets completely smooth around your solder joint, it's going to soak in the solder. And once it does that, you know, you're just going to kind of focus around the top like that. But for now, just keep going around the sides. Mine's getting pretty smooth. It's about to fade in. And it just went. So we're going to kind of just wiggle it around the front here. There it goes. It's going in. Come from the underside to get it to come through the rest of the way. There you have it, folks. She's soldered. Now, this is going to be hot. Don't grab it. What you're going to do, take tweezers, pliers, grab this with the tweezers, open this with the pliers, and then throw it right into your pickle. But do not put these aluminum tongs into the pickle. You can only put copper, brass, and silver in the pickle. If you put, if you put these tongs in there, it'll contaminate it and it won't work. So you just gotta drop it and then let it sit. Soak. Jeez, dude, where is my English going today? Yeah, so that's how you solder a piece. And these tongs are gonna be hot, so you probably want to quench them. You know, just so you don't accidentally touch them later. Get your quenching water. You see, don't drink because it's quenching water. Just gonna dip it in there, swirl it around. I'm kind of running out of water, ain't I? Handles aren't too hot now. Just kind of shake off all that water. Alright. And your heating pad, it's got some flux on it, but it's going to be hot too. Alright, so then what you're going to do, this is going to have a lot of flux over it. You're going to want to get that off because it's just going to make things harder for you. You're going to want to open it up, slide a paper towel in, and just pull it out. And looks like I got it all off. But yeah, that's pretty much how you do that. And they should be done by now in the pickle. With copper, you can't really put it in too long. I mean, I guess you could, but you could put it in there for a long time and it'll be fine. Brass, though, you do not want to put it in too long, or it will start taking the copper out, and then you'll just have the zinc, and it's not pretty, basically. Just bear with me, okay? So this is what the pickling solution looks like. Hey, what's going on? Alright, so your pickling solution is in the crock pot because it needs to be hot. It's right in there. It doesn't look like anything special, but do not touch or drink it because you will pretty much die. So yeah, you're gonna use copper tongs. Just take a copper wire and, you know, stick it in there. Grab them puppies like that. This is the first one I did. Shake it off, and then you're gonna rinse it in baking soda right here. Baking soda, water. As you can tell, it's kind of blue. That's what happens when it starts getting old. When you have pickling solution, you do not want to dump it down your drain or down your toilet or anything like that, or even the water I'm dipping in it right now. You got to dispose of those both very carefully. You have to like take them to like a biochemical plant, and I just figured out I don't have a paper towel. Hold on, let me grab a paper towel. But I'm just gonna keep talking. So you're gonna need to take them to a biochemical plant and tell them that, I forget what it's called, but it's basically like some for chemical name that's really long and drawn out, and you need to take it there, tell them what it is, and then they'll dispose of it safely. But if you dump it down your drain, you have a septic system, it's gonna totally destroy your septic system, and you're gonna have to have somebody come in and fix it. You know what I mean? So you would not want to do that. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that. Just saying. So anyways, there it is. Pretty snazzy. We're gonna get the other one out here. I'm gonna put it into the baking soda solution. Swirl that puppy around, get him real nice and clean. You know what I'm saying? Shake it off. Put it here. Always wipe off your tongs too, so you don't grab them next time. And you should really be wearing latex gloves when doing this, but you know, I'm kind of stupid and don't do that. But you definitely should, because you'll probably die later on. That's probably why I'm sick. I mean, I'm just saying I have COVID because my whole family has COVID right now, so I'm kind of quarantined. But yeah, my sister got it, and now my dad and mom kind of think they have it. They already got their tests. They're waiting on the results, and I'm not getting a test because I'm just going to say if they have it, I have it, because I'm not going to just waste another test, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel sick. But yeah, so now we got our 2 rings here. I don't know if you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, yeah, you can. I'm going to take a mandrel, right? Just place the first one on there. You're just going to push down. Push down until you really can't push down anymore. And you're going to notice it's really wobbly looking like that. It's going to start banging on the hammer. And one thing we don't want is how not flat it is. And the one way to fix that is take 2 pieces of wood, like this one over here, and this one right here, and bang it out. Sorry to my whole family trying to sleep, but alright, so it's flat. Now we can keep working it down the mandrel. Let me make sure you can still see. I don't know if it's going on the figures or not, but kind of just getting her round. That's how you get it round. Alright. Now I'm at a size 9.5 here. I want to make sure I'm not going too big. And I gotta find my piece here. We're getting very close to too big. Gotta keep getting out these kinks though. Can't have any kinks. So you just gotta be very careful with it. Like, work out the kinks, but try not to stretch it anymore. Just keep track at where you're at. Just keep whacking away, man. And I'm already stretching a little bit. It's okay, it needs stretched a little bit, but I don't want to stretch it too far. If you move down any more than a whole half of a size, you better check it. Make sure you didn't stretch it too far. And too far would mean that it loosely slips on. You do not want that. Okay. I got another kink right here. I'm going to try and whack him out. Alright. Just make sure he's not wobbly. Need to whack him a couple more times with the wood. And of course that would happen, you know what I'm saying? It's just you know, that's just stuff that happens. Okay, so now we got this piece and it won't fit on, right? That is good. We don't want it to fit on. Actually, you might have to sand your solder joint like I have to right here. Just take like a round piece of, oh frick, it won't fit, are you kidding me? Alright, take another regular piece of sandpaper, who cares? I don't know. Just kind of stick it in there and ground away that solder joint, because the solder joint's going to have like a minor imperfection. You're just going to want to get rid of that because it's going to make a little uphill type of thing on your ring. You don't want that. So once you get that, yeah, I got mine away already. Gonna line it up with the other solder joint because you want to keep all the ugly parts at the bottom, right? So I'd say that this is ready. So what we're going to do here is we're going to press it on, like so. Put it on your wood, and I'm actually going to need a bigger hammer. Get a bigger hammer. And are you freaking kidding me? Alright, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. Jeez. I'm sorry, I don't have a camera. I just have my phone. There you go. Now she's on. See? She's on. She's on there. Okay, she's on. And if it's not lined up right, what you're going to want to do is get a screwdriver, like a flathead screwdriver here. Let me show you. Bada bing, bada boom. You got a flathead screwdriver right there. And you're just going to sit this on the table, right? And you're going to go like this and find the high spots that it went up too high. Just kind of give it a little tapping. And this will bring it right to the edge of your ring so that it's 100% flat. And this will make your ring look snazzy. Let me tell you, man. Let me tell you. It's going to be a snazzy ring. And right there, we got our ring pretty well done, right there. Now we just gotta do that with the other side, and I'm just gonna cut to that because, you know, this is really bad filming angles and everything. I'm just gonna cut to it. Alright, everybody. I got the second loop on. Just one minor problem. I can't tell which one was the loose one now. I'm kind of forgot. One of them's a little loose, and I don't know if it's gonna cause problems down the road. But basically, to fix that, I'm just gonna place some solder right there, 4 of them, just to keep it from moving whenever we're gluing up and all that fancy stuff. We don't want it to move and then completely ruin the ring for us. So I'm gonna do that and show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright guys, so I messed up a little bit. So I tried to use this solder. It's a solder paste, not a chip solder. So it's an easy solder. And it means that it soaks in at a lighter heat, so that if I use the same solder, the hard solder, as I'm trying to melt that solder, it would start melting my other solders already did, and we don't want that. So I had to use easy solder, which melts a lot quicker and at a lower temperature than the other solder. But I've been having so many problems with this solder, and I couldn't get it to work anyways. I tried, and it might have worked a little bit, but once I sand it all away, it won't work too good. But we tried. I don't have any other easy solder, so I couldn't really do any other way. So, guess we're just gonna have to deal with it. This is how it's gonna be. It's in the crock pot right now. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend this stuff. I recommend getting easy chip solder. I thought this would be nice, but it really isn't. So this is really good for electrical stuff, but not for ring stuff. But yeah. Alright, so this is what it looks like after using that chip wick solder. Really bad job. I mean, it didn't even like fill the crack. This side I didn't use flux, and it really didn't work. So I tried flux on this side because it says it has flux mixed in. So I tried flux on this side and it didn't work either. So yeah, basically once I sand it, it'll all come off. But yeah, I just want to show this to you guys. Don't ever get that solder. You should get the chip solder. Just look up chipped silver solder, and it'll say hard, medium, or soft, whichever one you choose. Get it on Amazon, and yeah. But basically, that's where we're at right now. I just gotta clean her up. Alright, so we got it cleaned up on the inside, pretty well. Got all the grime out. The outside does not need to be super clean already. You know, we'll clean that up whenever we get through the sanding part, polishing part. Just need to clean up the inside because that's where all the glue's going. Make sure you blow on it a couple times to get the dust out. But yeah, then you're gonna get a bottle of super glue. One that has the squeeze out tip. Don't get a brush or anything like that. Get the squeeze out tip. Makes everything 100% easier, bro. I dare. Alright, and I have this thing right here that I use for super gluing and stuff like that. Because I don't want to get my good one, you know, all super glued and stuff. But yeah, you gotta put it on there. Make sure your things are on correct. You don't want them to be on wrong when you're super gluing, because then, you know, you're pretty much done. But yeah, you're gonna basically sit it like this. Have a paper towel underneath, because super glue is gonna drip. And you're just gonna, you know, put a drop of super glue, place a couple rocks to fill it in. Put another drop of super glue, put a couple rocks, and just keep going the whole way around until you make it to the other side. And then put super glue on top of all them and let it dry. Alright, so I got a couple rocks placed in. There you go. Got it going the whole way around. And I'm just going to let that go. And then I'm going to go to sleep because it's like 12 o'clock at night. And I'm going to let it dry. And in the morning, put it on my drill over there and run on some sandpaper and get her flat, and then she'll be looking really nice. And I just keep doing this. Just keep doing this step, okay? You're going to keep doing this step until you fill in all the gaps that you possibly can on the rock. And eventually, when you start getting to the smallest gaps, you're going to have to start using the powdery stuff. I don't know, my phone keeps doing that focus thing. Just going to want to start using the smaller and smaller until you get to the powdery stuff. And eventually, you'll have a, like, fancy rock, dude. What else can I say? Fancy rock thing, and it's gonna look pretty much like this because you're just gonna keep sanding it until you get all the gaps out. And yeah, don't use glass because it turns out like this. You want to use rocks, actual rocks. I made that mistake, and my cat just jumped up on my lap. Hey, cat. But yeah, and I'll show you what it looks like in the morning. Alright guys, so it's the next day, and I completely forgot to freaking film this. I just started working, and I was like, oh shoot, I was making a video on this? This is just how professional I am, you know what I'm saying? So, right now I got it on the spindle, on the drill, and I'm getting those wires to become flat just by sanding with them. If my camera could focus, that would be nice. So, as you can see, it's not there yet, but I'm trying to get those wires to be flat on top. And it'll take a lot of sanding, heavy grit sandpaper. Dude, what is wrong with my camera, bro? My goodness. Anyways, yeah, we're gonna do that, and once I get it to the flatness I would like, then I'll add more rocks in, because these ones are dry, because it's the next day. But you really only realistically have to wait like 10-20 minutes if you get the right super glue. Like this one, I think it dries in 10 minutes. Pretty freaking sure it dries in 10 minutes. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Also, quick tip so you don't die. If you're doing like any type of spindle work with sanding or filing or anything that's going to involve dust coming off, wear a mask. You don't have to get an expensive one. I mean, that'll probably be better for your safety. I'm just using my COVID mask. But yeah, I got it. And this is pretty much as flat as I would like it to be. Shoot, there is a nasty kink in that. Do you see that? Oh, I don't like that at all. Oh well, that'll just have to be the bottom of the ring. Wait, let me rotate it a little bit. How about that? Let's just leave it at that. Or that, you know. But the kink is right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Right there at that big rock. Up, it's going up. Oh, that is horrible. Anyways, I'm gonna add more rock to it. More super glue, and yeah. Alright, so now I got what I believe to be the final coating of rock. I think it's gonna be the final one because right now it kind of looks weird because of the super glue I just put on. I super glued them all in, and then after I got all the way around, I just went all the way around on top with super glue and took some of the white dust from it and just sprinkled it to fill in any gaps that I missed. And most of that's going to get sanded away, but the some that did fill in gaps, because you can see how overlapping it is over the metal, all that's going to get sanded away. So it's gonna, you know, it's gonna, frick, what the frick am I talking about? I don't even know what I'm talking about. But it might need some more gaps filled. Like, I can see one right there. I'm gonna sprinkle some dust on that real quick. Right, because the super glue's still wet. Let's grab some dust. Grab some more. Why don't we? You can also separate this stuff with like a mesh screen or something. I just don't feel like going that deep into it. I can just kind of grab some. And then take this, put back on. And dump the excess that didn't stick on. And now you just let that puppy dry. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? And I'll let you know what it looks like once I sand it. Alright. Now you gotta clean up the inside with like a Dremel tool or something.
Driving, I see. Something like that. Well, here's something else. With your farmer's policy perk, new car